a couple of youth, and we were working. But the problem was access to funding. You knock to this office, no, there is no funds for the youth. And that, it demotivates you. Even you have a zeal and you have a passion. So this is an issue that I would like the UNFCCC to look at in a very... Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can only encourage the other programs also to dedicate funds to youth specifically, like we have done, and that's one solution that if they can, of course. Who else would like to contribute? Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Elena. I'm from the University of Pennsylvania. I don't have an organization, but at least from the perspective of a college student here, like there are so many possibilities for funding, at least in a college. They throw money at you to do whatever, but I think a big issue is a lot of young people don't feel like they know what they could do. So I think a really useful thing is to have, like, it would have to be for each area or like specialized or just small things that people can do that actually make a difference, because there's all this climate change stuff like turn off your lights or something like that, but people don't feel like that is going to make a difference, so they just don't. And so it really just requires everyone working together doing these small things, but there has to be the motivation behind that so people think that they're making a difference. So I found that's really difficult to get college students to understand, even though they're educated, that they have to participate as well in order to make a difference. And like, it'd be helpful to have a list of things that they can do, because we have a lot of passion, but just don't know where to put it.
Yes, well, please, if anybody wants to comment first, Miroslav, and then...
Just briefly to answer to this, I would strongly recommend that you look up the homepage of the Citizens Climate Lobby. That's a very good network that tries to get citizens engaged in the processes and also in the lobbying for climate-friendly policies. And they have now at COP21 launched a citizens engagement network. And the aim of this network is really to connect locally those kind of young people who have the potentials to contribute in the process, but also with concrete local action. So I would strongly recommend to connect with Citizens Climate Lobby and the Citizens Climate Engagement Network.
Okay, there's two gentlemen here, and then the lady.
Just as an answer to your input, like in Switzerland, Switzerland, the World ICA, my name is Jonas, and yeah, I studied some environment and energy. And so, to say that in Switzerland we have this project called React. You can go and, I guess it's react.ch. It's been an initiative that there's groups of students, that's how it started, that you actually commit to some reductions in CO2 reductions in your daily life. And then there's a competition against different teams, but then you team up with some of your buddies, and then who is going to make the stronger reductions during this two weeks period, and something like that. And that's also expanded into companies. So if you can check it out. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The gentleman next to you, and then the lady in green.
I'm Phil Noto. I'm from Mount St. Mary's University in Emmitsburg, Maryland. On question 5 about the power of social media and moving on forward with the generation that we are in right now, I found it very, sometimes with all these conferences all over the world, finding the funding is kind of hard, especially, trying to find the money to come up here all over the world. Plus, it also puts a damper on what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the environment better. We're trying to create a better sustainable environment. And a lot of times, the fossil fuels and emissions from other places really kind of gets in the way of that. So one way that we can use social media would be to maybe garner some better programs and like have it more online, more available resources where you'd have the youth able to be in these web chats or these classrooms where they can literally be online at home in their own homes. We don't have to fly out and go all over the world to get all these places. You can literally be in your own homes and be effective online socially. Because we're in the social network, and sometimes there's no need to even come all over the world to do this. You can do it sitting in your own home on your own bed.
Thank you very much. The lady,
Yes, hi, my name is Gail Davis, and I support UN OSHA with humanitarian support as an external partner. I love what I'm hearing from the people here about what can we do in our own homes. But I think one thing we have to remember, you know, and I hope the youth don't kill me for saying this, but the youth forum, I keep hearing youth, youth, youth. While the youth are the future, we all are the future. And the most important thing is bringing all generations together to support the Sustainable Development Goals. I asked a 6-year-old, does she know what the Sustainable Development Goals were? She didn't. I asked a 16-year-old, a 26 and 36 outside these walls. They didn't know. Social media is great, but it keeps us online. You know, there's something called meetup.com that's been around for years. It's set up to bring people online to take them offline. What are we going to do with taking people offline so that they're really doing something and starting in their homes? You have to start with yourself before you can say, I'm going to go get a community and a bunch of people to do this. And we all are adults. We have to motivate ourselves. So it does matter when we go to sleep and the TV is on. Set a timer on the TV. That'll help. So what are the things, I think the question for us to ask ourselves, how can we come together with one another or with ourselves and be responsible for ourselves, share that with our families, our friends, our nieces, nephews, uncles, or whatever. But it does start with intergenerationally. We have this youth, 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 but it needs, where are we going to have the intergenerational so that it brings together across multi-generations, which means intergenerational, all of us of all ages, when we go back home, we share it across all generations in our family. That's just my thought.
next is the gentleman, and then the lady here in purple.
Hi, I'm Eugene. I'm from Singapore. So one thing I noticed when it comes to climate change is there's a lot of inequality. So the people who cause climate change, there's a lot of inequality. The people who suffer from climate change, there's also a lot of inequality. And this means that the solutions to climate change will have to be different for every single country. And I do like the idea of starting from the bottom up, because then everyone comes from their own background and their own knowledge, instead of having a big idea that everyone kind of generalizes as a simple solution for the entire world, when that is not actually possible. So I'd like to see more customization, more grassroots movements, more support for people coming from their own backgrounds to express the inequalities in climate change and why it's important to take this into consideration when you implement solutions to climate change.
Thank you very much. The lady here in purple, and then
Thank you. My name is Larissa, and I'm with the University of Toronto. And I think my answer probably fits in the category too, if that helps. And I totally agree that this is an intergenerational problem, but I think one tool that we're missing, or that youth are missing, is recognition. Recognition that we have a voice, a knowledgeable voice, and an important voice. So I went to COP21 with the university as well. And to echo a lot of the things that the representative from Youngo already mentioned, there are so many, youth again there, but it's so hard to talk to people. It's so hard to influence policy if you're not in the room. So we all carry observer badges, but we don't really get a say in anything that goes on. I think that's really a pity, because we're students, we're studying this right now. We understand the issues in a new way. And so, yes, it's intergenerational. I totally agree that we need to work together and we need to find a way to build relationships between generations, but I think that starts with first building recognition that youth matter.
you wanted to add something. The young gentleman next to you was first, and then the two people on this side.
Sure. I'm from Toronto, Canada as well. I'm from Foundation for Environmental Stewardship. I'll first highlight what we do and then answer to number 2 of the questions. So we go to high schools and universities educating young people on the reality of climate crisis, and then help students brainstorm solutions for their school and community, and mentor the key student leaders along with the teachers to actually carry that out in the community. But coming from the developed country, such as Canada, what I find very useful and effective is really changing the values that are permeated through the culture of young people. And those values is that there is always cost to doing justice. And if we're part of the developed world, we can understand about climate change, we can talk about climate change, but we've actually got to stop spending, stop buying useless stuff, reduce what we're using. And that's actually hard. And we've done all kinds of surveys with the students that we've worked with, and they're like, yeah, I really understand. I see the pictures and videos of the Pacific Islanders and the coastal regions and how they're suffering. But when I directly put it together, like, should I get this product or this product? You know, if I get this, then probably it'll impact them less. But I want this, and it really is a tangible problem. Yeah, it is a really tangible problem to people who were always raised up in the developed world, who've never had concern for anything like this in their life. So yeah, this changing of value is something we really like to bring in light of the inequality of climate change, and really understanding that climate change is about the dignity of the person, the human rights of the person, and really looking at the well-being of humanity in light of climate change. So yeah, that's something we're doing. And what we struggle with, aside from the obvious funding issue, is the education material. I know UNEP has the Geo5 for youth, and that's been very useful. UNFCCC has amazing graphs. World Bank has great data and like interactive data, but they're geared towards academia, and it's very hard to bring that to high school students to make it more easy to communicate and easy to teach. And I'm wondering, maybe I don't know, maybe there's some artists or graphic designers and educators who can work together in coming up with classroom-friendly material, education material that could be used in all the countries around the world, especially youth advocates and youth educators, especially from the global south, struggle finding good material to present. At least in the global north, we can get funding and hire graphic designers to use it for one event. But it's very, there's big inequity in that. Also, I wanted to just comment on the Yango, having the national delegate coming from Canada about 10 years ago. The Canadian Prime Minister personally canceled the youth delegate system, so we've been working on trying to reinstate that with the new government that came in. Hopefully that will work out, because it is so important to have actual youth delegates in the seat talking about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. This young lady's here, and then really, young lady.
Okay, I'm Anna. I'm from Boston University, and I just wanted to speak on the same note of the change in values, because I think it's really connected to what the student from University of Pennsylvania was speaking of, about how college students don't really know where to funnel their motivation and passion, because I think that is kind of connected with the values and what we teach kids in school. So off of that, I was lucky enough to grow up in a primary school that offered a class. It was called Health Management, and we learned how to deal with stress and how to live a healthy life. And I think we should also be trying to implement something like that in all schools concerning values or the environment, because really that's where you learn it when you're young and your mind isn't really set yet. It starts at home, and then it continues into school, and really that's where the youth can begin even more, because although youth right now is more of the focus of the 18 to 25-year-old gap, I don't think we should underestimate the younger generation coming right up.
Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to, first of all, say this is a theme that I hear at almost every climate and youth